It's the age-old question that's haunted cheaters and lovers for generations. Stay loyal to your longtime girlfriend, or give her up for the bombshell beauty of your dreams. This quagmire is tackled head-on in the soap opera / block puzzle hybrid, Catherine. Yes, that's right, it's a puzzle game. Despite what the trailers may have fooled you to believe, this isn't a movie. It's a game. That's why it's not on DVD anyway. 32-year-old Vincent is a bit of a slacker, but he's not lazy and he's not a bad guy. He wakes up for work, meets with his girlfriend, knocks back a few drinks with his buds, goes to sleep, rinse and repeat. The problem is that Catherine wants more. That's Catherine with a K, by the way. That'll be important later. There's been talks about their future together, and Vincent's not quite ready to commit.
I mean, it's easy to keep things like they are now, but...
I don't know. Sometimes easy's best, right? I mean, who knows what'll happen in the future?
In comes Catherine. That's Catherine with a C this time. This unbelievable woman shows up one night and strikes a conversation with Vincent. They chat for a while, one thing leads to another, and whoops. And yet, it's still not so simple. Vincent doesn't get the chance to tell Catherine immediately about Catherine, and the more he thinks about it, the more he doesn't exactly want to. See, Catherine's certainly not a bad person, but she's being overbearing on Vincent.
Oh, this! Yeah, the new model came out last week, so...
It hasn't been that long since you got your old one. You could have still used it. Didn't you buy a new computer a little while ago, too? You always throw your money away.
And on top of that, Catherine seems to be pretty much everything Vincent wants in a woman.
Marriage is just a tradition, right? Seriously, who wants to be tied down?
So the predicament isn't as simple as apologize and move on, or even try to handle two girlfriends at once, but rather, it's more along the lines of, who do you love more? Both girls, oblivious of each other, grow frustrated with Vincent.
Being with you is a real pain sometimes.
And the story plays on this concept really well, often mixing comedy with tragedy.
Oh, hello.
Hello. Thank you for calling. Why in the fuck did she have to call right now?
And whether or not you're a fan of anime or CGI, you can at least appreciate that the cinemas look pretty damn good in their own right. I'm not showing off much here, but trust me, the animators really show off their stuff later in the game with some nice action scenes. Probably the most compelling thing about the story is how well it balances the whole cheater's remorse thing. It basically says there's no right or wrong answer, and it supports this by having a lot of characters tell Vincent their opinions on the situation.
I like my women like I like my blankets. Replaced by a maid every morning. Cheating is pathetic.
I agree with Toby. Pathetic. It is in a man's basest instincts to cheat. Here you go. Enjoy.
Yeah, set it down and walk away.
Even the so-called morality bar, which we'll get into later, isn't so much good versus evil. It's really more along the lines of law versus chaos. Do you do what society deems right, or do you do what you want to do? There's no right answer here. It all depends on how you personally feel as a player, or at least how you feel Vincent should portray himself. Aside from Vincent's affairs with his two Catherines, there is another matter that's probably more pressing. See, Vincent's been having nightmares as of late. Every night, he'll enter the nightmare world and climb a staggeringly high mountain of blocks.
How high does this damn thing go?
The very bottom of these stages keep falling apart, and if Vincent's not fast enough, he'll fall to his death.
I'll die! You fucking serious?
And as the news has shown, plenty of victims keep dying in their sleep.
And in other news, we have more on the recent string of unexplained deaths.
In order to scale the mountain, Vincent must pull out blocks to make staircases until he reaches the top. You have to think carefully about the blocks you push or pull, or else you can easily put yourself into an impossible situation.
No way!
This means you're going to die over and over again until you get it. Don't get me wrong, this game isn't really trial and error, and reaching checkpoints will allow you to skip a large majority of the sections you've already completed. You just have to keep looking at a wall and experiment with what can be done, pushing and pulling blocks until you finally figure out a path that works for you. Finally, once you've reached the top, you can take a breather and talk to the other sheep.
You're the sheep. Everybody here's the sheep but me.
These sheep are actually other characters from the real world who are facing their own problems. Depending on how you interact with them will decide whether or not certain characters live or die. If you do well enough, your reputation will begin to precede you.
Don't you get it? Everybody's pumped up because of you. Even me. I've been looking into climbing techniques because of you.
Befriending the sheep will also teach you new moves. The great part about these techniques is that they're always available. You can start using them right away from the beginning of the game, so you don't have to unlock them or anything. But a lot of them are really tricky, and you'll probably have a hard time implementing them all until late in the game.
There are many techniques to discover.
There's also a shop where you can trade money you've earned climbing for useful items. However, money is also used to grade your progress on a scale of bronze, silver, and gold. So giving up money to help you complete a level will earn you a lower grade.
Nah, I don't need it.
Huh? You think you're window shopping or something, Fro-Man?
Once you're ready to move on, you'll be asked a yes or no question that correlates to that law and chaos meter I mentioned earlier.
Is marriage the point where life begins or ends?
For a yes or no question, they're not as easy to answer as you might think, especially since the game pressures you to be honest. Every stage is broken up into levels, and the further up you go, the more levels there are per stage. The last level for each stage features a unique boss, each with their own moves to use against you. You'll just be climbing along, everything's great, and then, oh hey, all the blocks are heavy all of a sudden, or, oh man, surprise avalanche, were you climbing? Nope, bottom of the stage. Vincent has to escape the nightmares and then ultimately figure out who he wants to spend the rest of his life with. Catherine or Catherine. And that's pretty much Catherine in a nutshell. Unfortunately, Catherine, the game, left me with more than just a few misgivings. Let's start with that meter I mentioned earlier. It doesn't fucking work. See, you can say different things throughout the game that will push that meter in one direction or another. However, the story never changes. Two different people who play the game will witness the same exact story. It doesn't matter what Vincent texts his girlfriend or how he reacts to certain situations, he'll always act the same exact way. Every once in a while, the game will emphasize the meter as a way to tell you, oh hey, this scene is based on your decisions, but at most, it'll change one or two lines of dialogue and that's it.
How did she get my number? Why in the fuck did she have to call right now?
What the meter does do is determine what ending you get, but even that's a sham. Depending on if you're pure law, pure chaos, or somewhere in the middle, will net you one of 3 branches. From there, the last 4 main questions determine your ending. So yeah, pretty much everything beforehand was pointless. Just make sure your meter is blue, red, or in the middle, and then pick the corresponding answers you want for your ending. So all those conversations and answers you were so invested in before?
Do you see yourself as a dog? Do you see yourself as a cat?
Well, most of them anyway. They don't really affect a whole lot. And it sucks too because these characters are very likable. They're all unique and they really grow on you. So the fact that they're just there for filler and nothing more is really disappointing.
I just came for a little drink before bed.
The level design for the most part is pretty damn spot on, but there are a few areas that really throw me off. This is a really good example. Just watch for a few seconds, alright? I'm climbing up this stage, I'm making really good progress. There's no problems. I'm also using a lot of what was called the back spider technique, I believe, where the sheep teach you that you can walk along the back side of the stage. Even though you can't see yourself, you can still find hidden areas to help you proceed. So I figured, well, this is the level to use it. Anyway, I'm doing really well here, I'm making good progress, and then, all of a sudden, I hit a dead end. There's no way for me to proceed here, I'm completely stuck. And I've spent hours here trying to figure it out, and, you know, I was completely stuck, there's no solution. So, I gave up, I had to go online, and I found out the solution, and guess what? Let's rewind a bit. Back here, yeah, all the way back in the beginning, right there, I fucked up. I wasn't supposed to pull that block first. I mean, really, that's bad fucking level design. I won't spoil it by showing the proper answer, but the point I want to make is that this isn't how you design a level. You don't tug the player along as if they're doing awesome and then, at the last second, put up an impenetrable wall because they did one minor thing wrong in the beginning. If I'm doing something wrong, make it apparent early on. I mean, the fucking checkpoint is right there. This kind of thing doesn't happen often. In fact, I can only think of 2, maybe 3 points when I hit a dead end because of this nonsense. So, this isn't a glaring issue, but it does make me feel like this game wasn't play tested enough. Another thing I need to rant about is the sound. This is kind of hard for me to comment on. It's like they've got the best sound production team in the world, and they've compiled some of the greatest voice actors and actresses in the industry, and everyone does a phenomenal job, but the sound editor is an asshole. Too often I can't hear what someone is saying because the music or sound effects completely drown out the speaker's voice.
Strange items? I don't know what you're talking about. I'll try to remember it for later.
You can pick up items, but remember, you can only hold one.
You probably can't hold many.
I swear that wasn't edited. If it weren't for the subtitles, I'd have no idea what the hell they were saying. How would you like it if I did the rest of the video like this? Another thing I need to rant about is the sound. This is kind of hard for me to comment on. It's like they've got... Yeah, you see, it doesn't fucking work. Then there's this. The voices peak during animated cutscenes, and then dips when it goes back to CGI.
You know, you've been a little out of it lately. Is everything alright? You've been spacing out left and right. Quit joking around and listen. This is really important.
The only choice is to either deal with it or keep the remote for the volume handy. Get your shit together, Atlas. Other developers have given decent sound quality for more than a decade now, so there is no excuse. You're not new to the industry, so quit acting like it.
Sorry.
To be fair, these complaints are pretty much all I could come up with, and they're actually quite minor in comparison to the game as a whole. The story is amazing, with plenty of character development and uncomfortable situations getting tossed around all over the place. Likewise, the gameplay is wonderfully addictive, and you'll likely replay stages over and over in order to beat your best times and go for the gold. As if that weren't enough for you, there's also versus and co-op modes. But oh wait, guess what? Only local multiplayer. Yeah, seriously, only local multiplayer. Could I ask why? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love couch multiplayer, and I hate how more and more games nowadays are dropping that. But is it really that hard to implement online features other than a leaderboard? It's 2011. If you're going to include multiplayer but then make it local only, you better have a damn good reason why. Otherwise, you're fucking up. You can also complete the co-op mission solo, and if you manage to beat them all, good fucking luck by the way, you'll unlock a secret ending. Just something to look forward to. Catherine is an awesome game, but whether it's for you depends wholly on one main factor. Do you like puzzle games? Because there's a lot of block pushing here. In fact, if you're not a big fan of puzzles, it can be hard to justify that $60 price tag. This is especially so since the game can be annoying or even boring to play through it again to try to get a different ending, and it's doubtful that you'll bother challenging the higher difficulties if you don't like puzzle games to begin with. On the other hand, if you do love puzzles, then this is the grand motherlode. The higher difficulty levels will really kick your ass, especially if you're going for those gold trophies on the hard difficulty. If you're really determined to truly master the game, then Catherine will certainly last you longer than most big budget AAA titles today. Whether or not you actually put in that effort depends, again, on how much you actually love puzzles. For everyone else, it's just a great rental. If it weren't for the nonsense level design here and there and the lack of online support, this game could be damn well near perfect. As it stands, it's an excellent game and certainly one worth checking out even if you're only mildly interested. You could be pleasantly surprised at what you find.
Fantastic!